I've acquired a $20 universal column shift linkage that will hopefully allow me to connect to my Turbo 400 here. The kit came with 0 instructions, so I love referencing the pictures in the eBay listing to learn how to put things together. After playing washer roulette, I have attached it to the column side. I will then have to precisely measure how much to cut off the rod here. And by that I mean eyeball it and then death wheel it. At some point I'd like to put in a manual transmission in this car just because I think rolling through gears would be an absolute blast in this thing. In the interest of getting this thing rolling sooner rather than later, the Turbo 400 is easily the simplest plug-and-play solution. And there we are. All right, I've got her buttoned up now with a little bit of room for adjustment if we need to. Now for the moment of truth. Oh. Wow. It's not perfect, but it'll do. Reverse neutral drive. I've once again bullshitted my way through an installation, and somehow it works. I definitely didn't have to cut twice off camera. The power steering system is closed at least. I ended up using these universal hoses, the black one being the return line and then that silver braided one being the pressure line. The next time I see this power steering fluid, it'll probably be on the walls or ceiling when the system actually goes under pressure and sprays everywhere. Hearing squelching noises here as I turn the wheel back and forth, trying to get some fluid into the steering rack. Hanging exhaust is painful enough without a lift, without also trying to film it, so here's the end product. Got very close to hitting my column shifter here, but I still got a finger width. Keeping my distributor a little bit loose here because I'm sure that timing will be off a little bit when I first try to break it in. I'm using water for the first go around of this engine because there's a good chance most of it will end up on the floor after I start it up. In addition, I'd like to test if the radiator size is enough to cool it in this worst case scenario of trying to do a break-in on a hot day inside of a garage. I put a little fuel in the tank and then I left to go grab some more gas. And I come home to the pleasant surprise of the fuel tank already leaking. It's just this minuscule little tear in the tank right there. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but I'm gonna see if I can try soldering it. The question is, can I do it without going boom from the fumes inside the tank? I've hit it with a wire brush here. You can kind of see it's a little bigger than I thought, but I should still be able to solder it. It's not pretty, but it looks kind of sealed. Well, here goes round 2. I've tried soldering this tank a few times now, and as you can tell by the puddle behind me, new pinholes just keep showing up, so I went ahead and caved and bought a poly tank that'll throw in this thing. I have to keep reminding myself it's the journey, not the destination. I've come too far to not get it to at least pop off a little, so I've hooked up an external fuel system here. I'm just gonna see if I can get it to do anything at all. I don't even know if this battery is good or not. I think I killed it once and then tried to revive it. No ignition light. I'm thinking this battery is just too dead to actually turn the engine over. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch batteries with the Buick here and see if either car will start. More curious to see if this battery that was in the Chevy is a doorstop or not. So we'll hit the key on it first. Very dim dome light. It's a good sign. Yep. It's a doorstop. Cool. Now it is the Chevy's turn. We have a winner. So I can't actually kill this battery because I still have to go to work tomorrow, but I'm glad to know she spins over. The new fuel tank came in. I'm interested to see what comes out of that box, but it says it's for a 1935. Well, it looks like this new tank should work. The filler neck is at the same angle, so I'll just have to death wheel this one off and then attach it to the new one. Famous last words. May have to reevaluate the sending unit height, but that shouldn't be too difficult. Before experiencing an untimely death by gas tank explosion, I did blow it out with compressed air to get the fumes out, as well as water down the insides in case a stray spark wants to get squirrely on me. After all, it was probably pretty foolish of me to think I could get away with using a 90-year-old fuel tank. Got the poly tank in. It actually fits almost a little better than the original did. I then proceeded to mess around with my fuel sending unit outside the car like a small child for several minutes before wiring it into the ignition. I was able to verify the fuel sender by turn the key on here. That's accurate. Got about a quarter tank because that's all I had in the can. After finishing up the housekeeping of other things I should have done before attempting to start the engine in the first place, I entered the ring for another round with trying to get this thing to run. Yep, the thing I expected to happen happened. It might be from the transmission cooler lines that I completely forgot about. And with that disappointing blunder, I'll end this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.